Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am 𝐂𝐎𝐍, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. As always, live every Thursday, 7 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, sharp, right here on YouTube. And you know, if I'm here, Henny Daya. Henny Daya. What I said, right? Today, we are having some Henny VS, very special cognac, the world famous, world infamous, most recognizable cognac in the world. And as always, guys, remember to drink, drive, and degen responsibly. Cheers. Today, we are talking about two of the most influential men in the world as it relates to the global economy, and two of the men who are seem not to be able to shake talking about them all season long. You would swear that I am a huge fan of these guys because they keep popping up over and over and over again. And why? Because there's a battle raging on currently. Two men, one global economy, and like I said, a battle that is sending shockwaves across Wall Street and Web3. We are talking about the high stakes clash between the Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. Jerome Powell, and President Donald Trump. But before we get into that, as per usual, we have to do some housekeeping, right? So, no matter what a stripper tells you, I am not a financial advisor. This is not a financial advisory podcast, which means that nothing that I share here this evening, next evening, or any evening that has passed should be misconstrued as being financial advice, right? We have our crypto talk the same way we have our Hennessy on the rocks. What does that mean? The ICE rule: information, conversation, education. And sometimes when I'm drunk enough, when I've drank enough, when I'm in a mood enough, some entertainment. Today, like I said, we're talking about what began as monetary policy tension, but has evolved into an epic fight for economic control. And it's not just markets and crypto traders that are watching. The globe is watching. Global leaders are watching. Because, as I've said before, and I'm going to say it again here now, if the USA coughs, it means that the rest of the world is catching a cold, right? So, on one side, we have Jerome Powell, right? He's a staunch defender and has been a staunch defender of the Fed independence, right? He has pledged the fact that rate decisions up or down are going to be data driven. And in this particular round, it is going to be determined based on lingering inflation. The man say inflation had to come down before you could do anything. On the other side, we have President Trump in his second term, who has come back into government based on certain commitments, right? So he has his agenda, and over the last week, he has intensified his pressure on Powell, slamming him, saying that he is costing the US a fortune. He has even called for rates to be cut as low as down to 1%. He's calling figures, and he has been pushing for Congress to investigate the Federal Reserve and their spending. That's interesting considering what he recently put before Congress for approval, and he has been floating the idea of replacing Chairman Powell, right? Is that possible? I don't know, but this is no longer a gentleman's disagreement. It seems to have taken the turn to all out economic warfare, right? And of course, that is creating a lot of uncertainty in the markets. And, like much of President Trump's second term, the public showdown is fueling this uncertainty, right? President Trump, he's not the kind of guy who is hiding in the corner and, talk between his teeth about what he feeling and what he doing and what he want to do. He's a man, he's telling you just how it is. Like it, do like it, right? I mean, it could be endearing to some people, but like I said, what it continues to create in the global economy is uncertainty. And while we in crypto here, we have become almost immune to uncertainty and volatility, most other markets aren't that comfortable with it, right? So whether it's equities like the impacting the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, treasury yields bouncing between 4.2% and 4.5%. I mean, that has to do a lot with, like I said, President Trump's one big, beautiful bill. He's talking about cost and all these kind of things. But yeah, one big, beautiful bill. But yeah, on our side, in real time, we are seeing crypto fluctuating by as much as 10%. Bitcoin surged by as much as 10% at the end of June because speculation was swirling that President Trump might fire Chairman Powell. I don't even know if that's even possible. And then Chairman Powell pushes back while in Portugal, and markets do a turnaround. And what has that meant? It has meant that as much as 219 million in leveraged crypto liquidations, right? In both directions. This fallout has seen Bitcoin drop down to 106%. And I think right now, where we back at? Where are we currently? Real time. We are currently at 109,788 according to CoinGecko, right? So all of this is happening. ETF inflows into the crypto market continue to be very strong despite this seeming uncertainty and price volatility, coming in as much as 130 million or in excess of 130 million. And it asks the question, or it begs the question as to why is crypto so hooked on Powell and Trump standoff? And it's because Bitcoin is no longer just about the tech. Bitcoin is a huge macro play for a lot of people, not just retail investors, but institutional investors, country states, foreign wealth funds, and all these kind of things. So anything that impacts the rate or the rate expectations obviously impact all those people looking on from the side in terms of crypto. So people hanging on every single word that Chairman Powell speaks. And of course, President Trump, his fiscal and political posturing shakes dollar trust. And one thing we've known for a long time is that more and more Bitcoin, especially, and crypto to a broader extent, is a hedge against eroding dollar trust. So if Trump forces easier policy or boosts debt, crypto view that as bullish because it's a hedge. If the Fed pushes back, crypto tanks because we want this bullish environment. And what we've seen is, like I said, BTC has become a proxy against fiat confidence. And I guess to a wider extent to fiscal discipline and central bank independence. Because remember, crypto was created kind of as a antecedent to central banks, right? So there's a war there in terms of the perception of decentralized controls and moving away from the centralized controls that we've seen traditionally with the Fed. So what comes next? We have a few options, right? Powell could stay the course and inflation eventually cools. The Fed eventually cut their rates and the markets rally and crypto does well, leading to the end of this year. Or Trump could have forced Powell's hand, rate cuts happen earlier than expected, yields rise on debt, the dollar weakens, crypto pumps, right? And then perhaps after that, people have some buyer's remorse, some regret, we see a little pullback. Or we see an outright constitutional showdown. If Trump tries to break the Fed independence, chaos is likely to ensue because the separation between the Federal Reserve and the government has long been a pillar of the financial stability of the US economy. If that is eroded, I don't know what is going to happen, but like I said, I think chaos is going to ensue. Crypto is going to bounce between either being a safe haven asset or it's going to tumble with all the other markets as people assess their risk. But whatever the path unfolds, crypto is going to react in real time, unlike some of the other markets, because we don't sleep. We have no weekends. We have no off days. 24/7, 365, 366 in a leap year. So what comes next? I don't know, but it will be interesting to say the least. And every week I will be here to check in with you to touch on it, right? Like I said last week, I'm going to be adding a new segment where I kind of wrap everything up into one tight little bow for those who want to just skip to the end and see what I was talking about. And it is called the final pour. So here's the bottom line. This, in my opinion, is a turning point in America's monetary framework. And it is placing that American monetary framework under pressure. Trump knows that power lies in money movement. Powell knows that under political pressure, risk inflation, and more so, his and the Federal Reserve Bank's credibility. So between them, a global market that's uneasy, crypto that's sensitive, and investors biting their nails. If you're trading crypto, this isn't just background noise. Like I said, this is a significant macro narrative. So tighten your stops, track the headlines, stay clear-headed, and no matter how wild the charts get, focus on what you got to do, right? So that's my time. Guys, as always, thank you for being with me. No matter what a stripper tells you, adoption is inevitable. Illuminati out. Guys, be blessed. Cheers.